Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, we are updating an answer to a question that I was asked quite some time ago. That question was quite simply, if I could only have one premium ship, and that's it, like I was only going to buy one premium ship for my entire World of Warships career of the ones available at that time, what ship would I buy and why? And the answer to that question back in the day was, quite simply, the Tier 8 American battleship Massachusetts. Massachusetts is an amazing premium battleship. Get 9 16-inch guns that aren't all that accurate. She has German Sigma, but American Dispersion, which gives you wonky but consistently wonky guns. She gets German levels of secondaries in terms of range and in terms of reload time, but with American accuracy on those secondaries, which was quite nutty before the Commander rework. And she also got an improved hill and awesome AA and several other things on top of that that we don't have time to cover in this video because I don't want to make this a 25-minute video. But alas, as most of you probably know, Massachusetts was removed some time ago along with a slew of other premium ships, including the Thunder in Alaska. So she is gone. So now, with the premium ships we have in game, which is still quite a lot, what would be the one premium ship I would buy and I would recommend for you guys to get, and why? Quite simply, right now, out of all the premium ships available in the game as of this update 10.2, I would get the Tier 9 premium German battleship, the Pommern. Now, a lot of you are probably going, well, no, he's going to pick the Pommern. He's a German battleship mate. That is a decent bit of it. But also, just looking at the premiums that are currently available right now, I do believe Pommern is really the best one you can get if you're only going to get one premium ship in terms of not only the ship, but what makes a premium ship, which is things like economy, usefulness for training captains, versatility in what it can do. And Pommern, for being a ship that's very specialized for brawling, even in the current iteration of World of Warships, she's really managed to hold her own. Because if you were to watch any video on World of Warships right now, from after the Commander rework, most of mine included, you'd hear about how the engagement ranges have been pushed back further and further and further and further, not only because of, well, that's how the game was going beforehand with the ships that are being introduced, but also with the Commander rework and certain skills that were released with the Commander rework encouraged sitting in the back even more. I've been surprised with how well I've been doing in my Pommern. For a ship that was, well, lambasted when it came out, people absolutely crapped on this ship so much when it came out. I mean, just go read the comments on my Pommern reviews and like the Pommern guide I made. So many people were saying the ship was utter garbage. But nowadays it seems like everyone's done a 180 and there's nothing but love for the Pommern, which the ship rightly does deserve. Now, is it like this end-all be-all amazing ship? No, it is not. I'm not saying it is that. This is not like a Thunderous ship where you can go into the game and just hit 1 or 2 on your keyboard and magically get 150,000 damage at least by the end of the match. This is not that ship. This is a good ship, but it's not that good. So the Pommern, if you don't know what the Pommern is, she is quite simply an FDG hull, but instead of the 8 guns that the FDG gets, she gets 12 15-inch guns. Which, they are small guns, but you get a lot of them at Tier 9. Which, 12 guns at Tier 9 is very good. At Tier 9, you only have the Alsace currently that has as many guns as the Pommern. You do have the Lepanto too, but she isn't technically fully released yet. So, if you want to count that, sure. If you don't, yeah. Even if you do count the Lepanto, Pommern's guns are far more accurate than the Lepanto's guns, even with Deadeye equipped on the Lepanto in terms of accuracy. And they have a 33-second reload time too, and that's base. You can get that down with the reload module, but I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you build into one of the best parts about the ship, which is her secondaries. She, of course, has German secondaries, which are wonderful for dealing with cruisers, destroyers, and other battleships that cross your path. Now, her secondaries are quite simply FDG secondaries, although I said FDR there for a second. So she gets 16 105mm secondaries, which, since they are German 105s, they can pin up to 26mm of armor, And then she also gets 12 150s, which can pin up to 38 millimeters of armor. So a good chunk of her secondaries can cross the 32 millimeter threshold, which is the last major threshold in the game. But the rest cannot. However, they do have very fast fire rate, very good range, and decent accuracy now. It used to be very good accuracy, but decent accuracy now. They get the job done is what I'm trying to say. They reload in 2 seconds. They have a 5% chance of starting a fire without IFHE. So you can definitely start burning plenty of ships down with those 105s. And plus, most of the cruisers and destroyers you're going to run across, they are under the 26 millimeter threshold. So you'll be able to rip them apart too. And on top of that, she also gets torpedoes. She gets quite literally Tirpitz torpedoes. She gets 1 set of torpedoes per side for 8 in total. And, well, the Tirpitz's torpedoes, they have a 6-kilometer range. They do 13,700 per torp. And most of the time when you're using the Pommern's torps, you're going to make sure all 4 of those hit. So whatever it is you're fighting is probably going to go down. Because by the time you've gotten that close, your secondaries have chewed it up. You've probably launched a couple of salvos into that ship, and they're having a bad day. Now, AA, German battleships were never very good in the AA department. And, like, with the way AA is nowadays, it really doesn't matter unless you have God tier AA. If you don't have God tier AA, it really doesn't matter. In terms of maneuverability, she's also pretty fast too. She can get up to 32 knots, which is fast for a ship of her size. And she's not the driftiest machine, but she can turn. I've dodged a minion torpedo in the Pommern, and due to her having the hydroacoustic search consumable, which is very nice. Tirpitz gave up that to get her torpedoes. Pommern does not have to give up that to get her torpedoes, but she did have to give up her catapult fighter, so she doesn't have a fighter or a spotter, just hydroacoustic search, a hill, and damage con, which I think that's a fair trade for what you get off on the ship. Now, I, of course, run a full secondary build on my Pommern with Lucians equipped. I think that's the ultimate combination in terms of brawling right now. So, after that brief overview of the ship, why should you get this ship over any of the other premium ships in the game? Well, right now, the Pommern, if you do pick up the Pommern, this one ship can train your German battleship captain for a ton of ships right now, especially with the commander rework. So if you get a commander and train him up to 21 skill points, you can go with one build on the Pommern, and that's good for the rest of your German battleships. Like every single German battleship, even Prince Eitel Friedrich now can use the standard secondary build. That'll work from tier 3 to tier 10 on all these German battleships. And of course, we've got a bunch of German cruisers in the game too, with more coming out soon, and the German destroyers coming out soon too, the new ones. So we've got 2 launch duties this commander will be useful for, and we also have a line of cruisers, which are, well, the Hindenburg's in a good place. The rest of the German cruisers, yeah, but they still have their merits. I know yesterday's video did come out, and I was talking about how they were kind of power crept, but in the most part, in terms of training commanders, you get a lot with the Pommern, and she's very good for that. She's a tier 9 ship, which means she's going to be up to tier 10 a lot. And you may be thinking, well, why is that a good thing? Because when you get up tiered and you do damage to ships of a higher tier than you get a bit of XP boost there. Now, a tier 8 ship would obviously be better for this because they get up to tier 10 a lot, and they get that double boost now because now you're fighting a ship 2 tiers higher than you, so you get, I think it's like a 0.50 times boost at that point. But being a tier 8 ship in a tier 10 game isn't always that great, a tier 9's a nice compromise because you're still pretty powerful, especially with the FDG hull. The armor on the hull is great for brawling, which is what the Pommern is going to be spending most of its time doing. So back in my original video, I said there's 3 parts to a premium ship that I look at when I'm reviewing it or talking about it. And the first one is it good for premium ship things? Meaning, is it good for farming credits, XP, commander XP? Is it good for training commanders? Is there a lot of ships that can use their commanders once they've trained them? That's very true for the Pommern right now. I already covered that. 2, is it all around a good ship for its tier? The Pommern is that. It's a very, very, very good tier 9. Even with 12 15-inch guns. But yes, 15-inch guns are small by tier 9 standards. No, they won't overmatch a whole lot at tier 9. But just because they don't overmatch, that doesn't mean they can't do a lot of damage. Pommern's a very powerful ship, especially if you have the gift of being able to switch ammunition types from AP to HE and a BB. Now, am I saying the Palmer's an HE spammer? No, I'm not saying the Palmer's an HE spammer, but I'm saying there is a time to use HE in battleships, and that's 1, if there's nothing but DDs left, 2, if you're fighting another battleship and they're stuck bow into you and you're not the Yami, Musashi, or Shikishima. Then that's when you load HE. So Palmer, yes, you can overmatch other ships, but you have HE, and you have 12 15-inch guns with decent HE specs. On top of that, you've got plenty secondaries with very good HE specs in terms of fire settings. So, someone goes bow into you in Palmer, and you can't overmatch them, switch over to HE and burn them down. She's pretty darn good at that. And the third, and I would argue one of the more important aspects of a premium ship is it fun? Palmer is one of the funnest German battleships in the game right now, especially if you have Lucians. If you have Lucians and you have his secondary expert skill, which of course you have if you have him, when you reach 100 secondary hits, which is easy peasy for German battleships, even with the quote-unquote buff we received to the secondaries, and if you can't catch my drift, I'm being sarcastic there because they are, at the end of the day, less accurate now than they were before, you can get 100 secondary hits pretty darn easily. Even in something like Ranked, where there's not a lot of ships in the game and you typically don't spend that much time just chewing on a ship with your secondaries, you can get 100 secondary hits pretty easily, which means you now have a 15% boost to the reload time of your secondaries, which means you're going to basically be a bullet hose at this point in terms of secondary firepower. And of course she has Torpedoes, which is always a welcome surprise when you're brawling. Certainly allows you to pull some pretty funny stunts with the Palmer. It's always funny when a German battleship torpedoes a destroyer. Always get a good chuckle out of that. So, all in all, just those 3 things, and the stats that I talked about before, Palmer's a solid ship. Am I saying amazingly good? No, but I'm saying solid. I'd say she's a good ship. She's a really good ship. And this final thing makes Palmer the best premium ship, because you get the most bang for your buck. And by that, I mean it's a free Tier 9 premium ship. Palmer is available for coal. You can literally spend $0 on the Palmer and get this amazing ship. Need I say more? Now again, just to recap here at the end, I'm not saying this ship is a god tier ship. I'm not saying you're going to be able to go into a battle and just get instantly 150,000 damage. No, you have to play smart. You have to play like a German battleship. I have a guide out on how to play German battleships, which is still relatively accurate to this day in terms of playing it, because again, back then when I made that guide, we were moving toward this sniping camping era, and that guide does touch on how to deal with that, although I may have to remake these guides now with these new skill systems. But if you do want to see the build that I recommend, check out my post-commander rework battleship guide build video. The secondary build is one of the builds that I do cover in that video as well. But it's simply just take all the secondary skills and forget about Deadeye. So all in all, Palmer, a really solid ship, and if you were only going to get one premium ship in the game, this would be the ship that I would recommend you get, and it's a free ship at the end of the day, so that's why I recommend the Palmer to you guys if you can only get one premium ship. If you feel like dropping money on it, which I don't recommend you do, but if you're feeling generous to Wargaming and I guess want to feed the server hamsters, she's available to buy for $77 US. Now I am of course a battleship main with a preference to the German battleships, so of course my view might be a little bit biased. So tell me in the comments down below, what would your one premium ship to rule them all be? I'm sure if you're a cruiser main, it'll be something different. I'm sure if you're DD main, it'll be something very different. I'm sure if you're a CV main, it'll be something very different. So let us know in the comments down below. Anyway, guys, hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're at 23,400 subs. Just got there literally yesterday, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Okay, guys, hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.